Hello and welcome to the Benzo Rehab Dungeon. This is episode 28, January 1st. Sorry, it is January 29th.
I wasn't going to correct you.
I was looking at the date the wrong way on my computer. It's January 29th, 2021. I am here with Danko Suvin from the Instagram handle at DankToLose. Danko, how you doing today, buddy?
Well, there's a lot going on in the world.
There's so much going on in the world, and I think we're really kind of seeing some unprecedented things coming out.
For sure. Some real
things that I never thought would happen.
Right. Well, things that you never thought would happen, but things that in roundabout ways we've kind of we've suggested might occur.
For sure.
No,
absolutely.
There are certain like real climatological concerns that I've brought up. Issues with ecology and waste.
Yep.
I think you've brought up some issues around this as well.
Like waste that has extremely long half-lives and
right, and that like just this kind of issue where you have I don't want to say mutagenic necessarily, but how things different systems inject themselves into one another and kind of develop out from that in these unpredictable ways.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Here it is. We have a brand new Godzilla vs Kong coming out. I mean, we don't have to go through the whole thing, but I mean, it's visually impressive.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's our only chance.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I told you about it, and you said I don't want to ruin the reaction I have to it by watching it ahead of time. So we specifically waited for you to watch it here. Look at how big that monkey is.
It's a very big monkey. In fact, that's my excuse for everything nowadays. Is I don't want to. No, don't talk to me right now. I don't want to ruin my reaction to this bit of news for my podcast.
I knew that they had a she had nowhere to go, so.
Oh, you want me to?
I made a promise to
no.
And what I like about this is that they're really including a human element to the story, which you don't typically see in a Godzilla vs King Kong movie.
Yeah, no creature feature has ever had a monster interact with a child.
And especially not in like recent iterations of all these things.
I honestly don't know. I haven't watched any of the new ones.
Kind of ruining this bit. I'm not gonna lie, man.
But I'm gonna be honest.
We had a bit planned, and you kind of shit all over it.
You gave away the punchline already.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, I ruined it. You ruined it. We ruined everything.
I think we did great.
Because we aren't liars, I think, is the problem. I mean, we're liars in our own way, but not in this way.
I don't think it went badly. I mean, you already announced that there's the King Kong trailer.
Yeah.
The Godzilla Kong. And we built up to it like it was going to be something that matters. And then we treated it like it didn't, because it doesn't.
Hey, but let's move on to something that does matter, which is Armie Hammer's estranged wife Elizabeth Chambers makes first comment about cannibal allegations.
Quick question on that, though, because these things connect. They don't seem like they do, maybe, but it might seem obvious at first, but the longer you think about it, the less obvious I think it gets.
Okay.
Armie Hammer, is he a Godzilla or a King Kong guy?
Looking at him, he looks more like a, I don't know, generic guy.
Yeah, so he's both.
He looks pretty generic.
He's either or.
I like this headline because Army Hammer's estranged wife Elizabeth Chambers makes first comment about cannibal allegations. The comment is her responding to an Instagram post with the words "no words." That's it. That's her breaking
funny.
her silence. I had originally intended this to like go on for a little bit longer, and then I'd be like, "Oh shit, this is for my entertainment news podcast." But I think we shot that in the head before it even like had a chance to exist.
Question about the Army Hammer thing, because I guess I have a lot of these. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, go ahead. I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, right. That's the first question, is who is Army Hammer? And second is, he's just talked about like wanting to eat people in like a fetishistic way, right? He's not like eating people.
I actually expressed this to a friend earlier who stumbled upon a weird diaper fetish group accidentally.
Accidentally.
There's this rule that I have about furries, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the rule is not every furry has fucked a dog, but every furry has wanted to fuck a dog, right?
Okay, I thought you were going to say you like furries until they engage in politics.
No, I don't care about that. They can do that as much as they want to. It's their right.
Okay, that's fair.
And then the diaper fetish thing that our friend, this is a mutual friend of ours actually, fell into. She found a bunch of troubling things about like people who aren't quite of age to engage in sexual activity. And I said, the same rule applies, that, everybody who's into a diaper fetish hasn't necessarily done that with a child, but they've wanted to do that with a child at some point. It's kind of baked into the cake of that fetish,
I don't know. I have a problem with that, because I think that you can read that fetish in one of two ways, right? There's
the old diaper users.
I wasn't even going to go that way, but yes. So there's three ways, right? I think they all kind of revolve around like incapacity, right?
Sure.
But you can either view it as them like wanting to engage with someone, in one of these far bookends of human life, or that they themselves just want to be covered in poo poo pee pee.
Yeah, no, there's
like
they want to aspect
be
of it, of course, for sure.
Yeah.
And
so I think maybe they want a mommy more than they want another baby.
Which I don't think anything is good.
No, I'm not. I don't disagree. Yeah.
especially in this age where we're now talking about big titty vampire goth mommy GFs,
Yeah, the mommy GF thing has been going on for a while. I wonder where that came from. Is that
not the porn industry? I'm sure.
I have a theory around that. I do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got theories around everything. No, but
do you have a theory or do you have a hypothesis?
Well, it's hard to test. So
yeah, exactly. So what do you really have, buddy?
God damn it. But so
you're the one that taught me theory, bitch.
God damn it. Nice.
That's not true. That's not true.
This is a nightmare.
You introduced me to a bunch of philosophers that I'm trying to read right now. I already was this brain broken.
That's fair. But this does connect to some previous stuff that we talked about on the podcast, being like the algorithmics and stuff, and like that controlling our life. But I think that what happened isn't that like psychoanalysis is right about like people wanting to like the whole Oedipal complex thing. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that people like pornographers think that that's true. And
no. Yeah,
because
it's
they
one of
think
those.
that
It's one of those.
About how people think.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing, where people think that there's like a weird Oedipal complex, so they make content based around that Oedipal complex, and then that draws people in, because it's like every other porn suggestion is step sis, step bro, step mom sort of stuff.
Right.
And it's like none of these people are unattractive, and it's not like you don't want to see them
Yeah.
take their
And
clothes off. So it like keeps like and then like since that's half the content you can click on, it keeps like fulfilling itself because you click on it
right.
just because you need to like beat your dick or whatever, and then it like perpetuates in that way.
Yeah, and it's
Hey!
it's based on a totalitarian symbolic regime, right? Like this is what all this stuff is, and that's kind of what like Deleuze and Guattari's problem is largely with like psychoanalysis is this a totalitarian regime of understanding the human psyche.
Uh-huh.
But people see this stuff on the screen like even before it became a really big thing, and they think even while they're resisting it and being like, I don't like that, but it has something that I like. And I also think that like, well, I guess a bunch of other people like that. And so I guess maybe I can interact with it. And so it explodes. And the fact that nobody likes it, except for this small sliver of the population, and everyone thinks that everyone else likes it, makes everyone get exposed to it. And that's exactly how algorithms work too, like these generative adversarial things.
Well, it's just like how I've never read a bit of like weird fantasy romance shit,
but you know about it
for high schoolers. But the fact that I clicked on enough of that content to like intentionally poison my own metadata, I now still to this day, like months after I stopped clicking on that kind of content, still receive ads for that kind of content.
Yeah, and these algorithmic networks are all built on the same kind of 3-point schedule and mode as like Lacanian and Freudian psychoanalysis is, just because that's a really easy way of understanding like how symbols interact with one another and how logics work. And so because you have like these two things mirroring one another in such like complete way, you have them working kind of the same way. And so while psychoanalysis doesn't work for people very well, usually it works really well for systems that people build.
It sure does.
And so what it does is it leads to this hilarious loop where because it's hyperstition, where because we think that psychoanalysis is real, even though it's not, we make it, we use it, and then by using it, we make it real. And so no one wanted this stuff before, which is why now everyone's going to want it.
This is gonna seem like a really random intro to the subject that we're probably actually going to talk about.
Army Hammer.
What's that?
Army Hammer.
Oh yeah, Army Hammer. No, the hyperstitious object that is the stock market.
Yes.
Hey. So let me go ahead and pull over the set of links that I actually had for this.
Speculate about this, buddy.
First off, I don't want to say that what we've talked about previously on the podcast was like proven in complete theory, like over the last couple of days. In regards to the stock market and how valuation works, and
crushing hedge funds by mass small endeavors,
no, none of that is stuff that we've really said, I guess, outright.
No.
in case anybody who follows the podcast isn't aware, which I'm not sure how you couldn't be aware of this at this point, a bunch of I don't know. How do we want to describe Reddit? Because I don't have any positive on Reddit. I think the best description I've ever come up with Reddit is well, no, it's like an obscure reference to something.
Oh, what is it?
Oh no, it's just a friend of mine was talking to me about how in the Warhammer 40k universe, there's
okay,
Slaanesh,
this is not gonna work. Yeah,
there's Slaanesh, and Slaanesh is a construct that magically appears because a bunch of elves were having like a weird sick orgy for a long time, right?
Oh.
And so like what Reddit is a bunch of weird people you don't want to fuck, and you don't want to be you don't want to allow to fuck either. Like you just
I was can call them the Stinkies. So
So
same thing.
Reddit is a bunch of people who you don't want to fuck and you don't want to allow to fuck either. Like, no fucking should ever occur with a Reddit person. And what they've done is they've created something out of like a just willing it into existence sort of thing.
Right. We're not a eugenics podcast, except for on the 3 points, which is that Redditors can't breed anymore.
Mhm.
Also, not going to say what to do with them, but Italians, kind of an issue. I've already expressed myself with this. And lastly, that these clones of Emperor Hirohito that we have, we need to do something with them. Hopefully more of them. More
Something's
clones of
got to be done with these clones of Emperor Hirohito. All right, so
trying so hard to make them exist.
A bunch of people on Reddit under the Wall Street's Bets subreddit found out that there was hedge funds investing heavily in GameStop, and not necessarily investing heavily in GameStop. What they're doing is they're borrowing stocks at a certain price, and they know that the price is going to go down. And when they immediately borrow and then sell those stocks, and then when the stock continues to go down, they basically come back to collect on the profit margin, which is like, let's say they borrow at $10 and sell at $10, and then the stock drops down to $7, and then they come back to collect at that $3 profit margin.
And oftentimes, actually, stock shorting can force downward pressure onto these stocks, and so it is
specifically designed to destroy a company, essentially.
Well, no, that's just a happy result of it.
Okay, well, the intent is not necessarily to destroy a company,
right.
But if the process destroys a company, that makes them more profit.
Yeah, it's exactly like what we brought up over and over again with the way that the Koch brother,
because the other one's dead.
Other ones that we got to bring that up every time.
Bitch.
How he would does buy smaller companies for things like logistics primarily, and drags them down into the ground. Not because he likes murdering companies and putting people out of work, but because it's
it generates a profit for him.
And this exists everywhere in capital, where further immiseration is just part of the it's part of the cake.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a bunch of people on our Wall Street Bets figured out that this was happening with GameStop, and that and this people think that this happened like within the last couple of days. This is actually a much more long-term thing than that. This is something that people noticed months ago and started investing in, with the understanding that this Friday, so today, the 29th of January, these hedge funds would have to make good on whatever their borrowing terms were for the stock. So there were some ups and downs over the last month or two, with the stock kind of fluctuating in and out of like, oh shit, is what we're doing a good idea? And then a bunch of more wealthy people kind of jumped onto the thing, I think, is what really helped the situation out. And
notably a certain someone who
usually there was Elon Musk, but there was also and I'm gonna like struggle with his name, but his first name is Chamath, I know that much, and then his last name starts with a P, and it's got a bunch of it's a East Indian name, and I've never learned how to like pronounce those names.
That's fair.
I can look it up real quick.
While you look that up, quick thing.
Chamath Palihapitiya, I think.
It's too small on the screen, and I don't want to seem like a racist.
No.
Palihapitiya.
Yeah.
Palihapitiya? I don't know.
Oh, he's Sri Lankan, so I fucked up multiple things there.
You son of a bitch.
He looked East Indian to me.
But like I said, Redditors, best way to describe them is the Stinkies.
Yeah.
And they're being led in this march, which is a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of this. Sorry for calling you Stinky.
There is
But
nothing bad about
but
this
but
situation on
it's all
the
good.
Reddit side.
But they're being led to some degree or helped by someone named Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's a
Stinkies,
stinky
Musk.
boy helping the stink. There's all sorts of stink. This situation is stinky.
Yeah. Got a lot of smells involved with it.
I mean, that's a great example of the fact that the rich and the poor live in the same world but in different ways, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Elon
We're
is
the less
stinky,
stinky poors,
but
and so we look down on the Redditors.
well, no, it's not even that they're less stinky. Well, yes, we do. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's totally true.
I don't know, man. I
But
showered today. I
Elon,
don't know about you.
I did, but Elon, you see, he's just as stinky, but he doesn't have to call himself stinky because he has the money. He's not Elon Stinky. He's Elon Musk. He's a musky boy.
You did alone.
Yeah, like
it's kind of fitting with South Africa, injecting some like weird French stuff in there.
Right. Excellent.
So the Biden administration has been I mean, we have so many things that are like actual problems in the world right now, including the 2000 wait no just kidding $1,400 stimulus checks that we're supposed to be getting sometime soon. I saw a funny meme.
Yeah, sure.
This is like a very anti-Semitic joke in its foundation, but like I saw this meme that was like, yeah, my kid asked me for $2,000 and I said $1,400. What do you need $800 for? Which is based out of an anti-Semitic joke about how Jewish people are stingy with money. Needs to be pointed out. Funny, but understand the roots of where that comes from. Right. So I another thing that we've talked about a bunch is the id poll behind Biden's administration and his cabinet, and we specifically talked, I believe, about Janet Yellen, who has received a bunch of money from Wall Street, specifically the Citadel, and Citadel is an owner in part of Robinhood, who we'll talk about this a little bit later, but Citadel owns a part of Robinhood who restricted trades of GameStop to like 2 shares a piece, and then they limited it down to 1 share a piece, which I have a graphic of the immediate like economic impact of what those share trading like restrictions did to the stock's viability, and actually drove it down in favor of the hedge fund managers who had obviously bet on it continuing to head down. But this is probably the most insane answer I've ever seen to a question like this. And mind you, we're coming off of the Trump administration press secretaries who would just like outright lie to your fucking face. But like, it was clear that this was a lie sort of thing is what the Trump administration was all about. This has got to be like one of the most like asinine deflections of a question I think I've ever fucking seen.
Okay.
And this is coming from the now Biden administration.
Right.
Jen Psaki, who is the new I think White House communications director.
Right. Do you think we're just gonna have one of those for 4 whole years, or are we gonna?
Yeah, well, the good thing is we won't have to go through a bunch of shifts where you had like the Sean Spicer who would just like yell at reporters, and then the
smooch, the mooch,
well, there was there was the mooch, and then there was Sarah Huckabee Sanders who would just like contra talk you down off the point.
Yeah.
And then Kayleigh McEnany, who I think is a demon. I mean,
yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah,
just like a profoundly evil person who will just like lie to your face and like be rude about it at the same time.
There's there's a certain kind of like really clean attractive that once you start to develop that certain look, you know that there's been some like diabolical connection to the like underworld.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what
You know?
Kaylee McEnany was like really kind of representative of, was that
Yeah.
like
Where you stop looking like a real person.
yeah, super pristine, like white
Austere.
person aesthetic, you know, sort
Yeah.
of thing going on.
This is creepy.
So anyways, let's get onto this
Just
clip real quick.
no one's ugly and real like us.
Yeah, I'm very real, and I'm actually in the room that I appear in right now.
Me too. It's a nightmare here. It's
Yeah,
the boat smells terrible.
you're
The
living in
Stinkies
a
behind me.
Hieronymus Bosch painting,
Yeah.
which has a lot of things going on in it.
It's Where's Waldo from Hell?
Yeah, where's the guy tooting a trumpet out of his ass?
No, that's me. That's me.
Okay.
I took a step over here to podcast for a bit.
All right, so
Talk out of my
let's get this clip going.
Okay.
Is the White House concerned about the stock market activity we're seeing around GameStop, and now with some other stocks as well, including the subsidiary or whatever, the company that was Blockbuster? And have there been any conversations with the SEC about how to proceed?
Well, I'm also happy to repeat that we have the first female Treasury Secretary and a team that's surrounding her. And
what the fuck does that have to do with the fucking question?
Well, it's the Treasury. It's related by department, kind of. That's awesome. That's really good. Does she continue on?
Yeah. No, this is halfway through the clip. I just really felt like in my gut
awesome.
that at
That's
that point
good.
I needed to shout about something.
That rules.
Often questions about market we'll send to them, but our team is, of course, our economic team, including Secretary Yellen and others, are monitoring the situation. It's a good reminder, though, that the stock market isn't the only measure of the health of our economy. It doesn't reflect how working and middle-class families are doing.
Got it.
As you all know from covering this, we're in the midst.
These people they gotta learn rhetoric a little bit better. You need actual like
right?
I don't know what I don't know what these people studied, right? Because obviously they have like Ivy League degrees and stuff in like something.
which we now know means a lot.
Right, yeah. It always has. But these people need to study like actual rhetoric rather than like HR comms, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because she could have totally done that same thing, just would have
in
to do it
a way
backwards.
less ham-fisted way, right?
Or do it just as ham-fistedly, just backwards, where you end up saying, "Yeah, well, we should send those kinds of questions over to them." So
well, that's what I mean by less ham-fisted is
right.
You know, giving the actual talking point and then saying, "Hey, by the way, we have the first female Treasury Secretary."
Yeah, because first off, it's less, as you say, ham-fisted, and second off, because it allows people to. It distracts them at the end.
Yeah.
It makes them think about something else.
Exactly.
That's the whole, instead of blowing it at your face and being like, "No, don't look at that."
Hey, first female Treasury Secretary. Anyways, we're talking with them. Yeah, no, of course. That's there's no fucking way that like it's like I said, like this is the most asinine response I've seen from a press secretary in probably a couple of years. Like Kaylee McEnany, as much of a demon as she is, at least knew how to drive the conversation a different direction. And this is just like, hey, by the way, Lady Treasury Secretary,
right.
Anyways, to talk about your point, like it's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see this kind of thing happen elsewhere in life all the time, but
yeah, of course,
it's nice in a way because this is in a lot of ways less severe than what a lot of the people in the previous administration in the same role did, right? But the fact that it is less severe makes it more bizarre in a certain way, right?
Exactly.
Because before it was just being hammered on by this like obvious set of psychopaths, whereas now it's just this like I don't know what her fucking deal is. She works for the Biden administration. That's her deal. And
that's her first failing.
right. And so she's in this position and she's using similar tactics, but she doesn't have the balls of the other people, right? And so it's no longer
that's kind
this,
of like exactly my point.
this
Is like
berserker thing. Yeah. And so like she can't get away with it. Yeah, and so
it's
in a lot of ways, like,
disingenuous without like having the balls to be disingenuous about it.
right. And people are talking about how great it's going to be to live in a boring administration, or how scary it's going to be to live in a quote unquote boring administration. I think that in a lot of ways, I mean, it will be more boring, but I think that optimistically and cynically, that we are going to remain so hyper vigilant from how insane it was before, that we're still going to continue looking for dumb shit, you know, and it's going to kind of spark up. And I don't know how many people will do that, and I don't know like how long that'll last.
Well,
but at least for
I can
now,
tell you
like
that
this stuff is going to seem insane to people.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Benzo Rehab dungeon is going to be on top of all this.
We will never stop being hysterics. For you,
I can't
for the people.
help but be hysterical about everything.
We got the tism, yeah.
I do have the tism for sure. It's I think there's a little bit more in this clip. I don't think anything special happens, but we might as well just play it out.
Sure.
Midst of a K-shaped recovery, America's workers are struggling to make ends meet, which is why the president has introduced this urgent package to get immediate relief to families.
So, you know, the rest of that has nothing to do with the question that was asked.
Yeah, it's just, what did you know about money? Money.
Yeah, did you know that
that
people need money right now? Maybe you heard about the money. This is from, I believe, the same press conference. I haven't like checked up on the timeline of when all these questions were asked. But we talked about Janet Yellen and how Janet Yellen has received a bunch of money from Wall Street, and we were initially, you know, when all these cabinet picks were being named, she was somebody that I believe we highlighted on the podcast, or maybe I highlighted it in the Instagram story that I post, that Janet Yellen was compromised by Wall Street money. And what we have going on right now is more or less kind of a resistance, or maybe soft revolution in Wall Street, where people with less buying power are coordinating to basically take over the buying power in Wall Street. Now, Janet Yellen has received a ton of money from Citadel, and Citadel obviously is a partial owner of Robinhood, the trading platform that has limited stocks, etc., etc. And so this is a reporter asking, you know, whether or not there's a conflict of interest there. And the response is not, I mean, like, if it's not great.
You did mention, I believe, yesterday that the Treasury Secretary is monitoring the situation, and she's kind of on top of it. There have been some kind of concerns about her previous engagements with Citadel and speaking fees that she has received from Citadel.
Just so we have an accurate number here, the amount of money that she's received from Citadel is like $810,000.
That's good.
So like almost $1 million from Citadel, by the way.
Are there any plans to have her recuse herself from advising the president on GameStop and the whole Robinhood situation?
Well, just to be clear, what I said was that we have the Treasury Secretary is now confirmed. Obviously, we have a broad economic team. The SEC put out a statement yesterday that I referred to, but I don't think I have anything more for you on it, other than to say, separate from the GameStop issue, the Secretary of Treasury is one of the world-renowned experts on markets, on the economy. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone she was paid to give her perspective and advice before she came into office.
Right. Yeah. It is unsurprising, and part of the problem.
It's exactly what we said would be a problem, is that she has a conflict of interest in handling things with the market, because she has been involved in the market this whole time, and she's got moneyed interest behind her in the stock world, you know. And this is why, you know, you really have to be critical of these kind of choices, where you can say, oh yeah, Janet Yellen is the first female Treasury Secretary. Well, that's great, sure. I think that there's nothing wrong with representation in general, but when it's representation from somebody who is aligned with all these forces, you know,
Right.
somebody who has a vested interest in maintaining the power of the rich, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to be critical of that kind of thing. And you know what's immediately happened after uh all this stuff with GameStop, the stock is you know, you've seen all these market alignments sort of like come into focus and be like, well, no, we need to stop trading on GameStop because, you know, your own good. What if you're caught up in a volatile market right now and something bad might happen to your stock, sort of thing. There are people who were they had their stocks shifted without their consent,
Mm.
because, you know, they were being told that, hey, this is for your own good. We're not sure if you really want to invest this much in GameStop right now because it's a volatile stock choice right now.
Right. And these are the people that are driving the price up, not the
Yep.
ones that are
Yeah, and that's
that
that's
own
the
the stocks
thing.
that are going to lose all the money.
um,
And even if they do lose all their money through this, guess what?
yeah, I
That's
mean, what have we always been told about the stock market and the economy, is that everything is
right.
like a gamble, right?
Yeah.
And
And we pull all the shit that we did in like 2008, and we remove all this regulation and everything, and then determine that only a certain class of people needs to be regulated. It's
that's yeah, that's actually kind of the next point I was going to roll into.
right.
Was, so we have Robinhood is still severely limiting trading. Customers can only buy one share of GameStop. And the way that this was kind of sold to people was that, okay, we're making sure that you don't buy a stock that may be volatile right now and you don't know what you're getting into, and so we're trying to preserve your money. And by the way, you know, the Robinhood app was started through the I mean, it's like the whole mantra of Robinhood in mythology, which is take from the rich and give to the poor. That's why this is a retail investor platform, so to speak. Um, the entire idea was that, you know, it was going to enable more people to invest in stocks, and therefore, in a kind of indirect way, take from the rich and give to the poor,
Mm.
whatever. Uh, but they're making all these like weird uh excuses for why only one share can be traded at a time right now. One of the excuses I've seen was that the clearinghouse can't keep up with the demand. Mind you, this clearinghouse handles like billions upon billions of dollars
Right.
of trades every day. But for some reason, this one particular stock that just happens to be hurting a bunch of hedge fund investors can't be handled in the same way that every other stock that like trades in billions of dollars every day is handled. And so we have Robinhood limiting the amount of trading that can happen. And mind you, what they're limiting is the buying of the stock. They aren't limiting the
Right.
selling of the stock. So what they've essentially done is they've created this soft cap where you know, the stock is going to essentially stay at the same price it is right now, and they're protecting the hedge fund investors by not letting people buy more stocks so that the price won't be driven up very much more, and allowing people to sell the stock as much as they want so that the price can go down. I have a very helpful graphic actually for this.
I like graphics.
The graphics as well.
While you pull that up, I have a fix for all of this.
Oh, okay.
Yep. People shouldn't be allowed to own stocks in companies they don't produce labor for.
Absolutely, yeah. I think
which
that's
means
probably true.
which means that all of these redditors will be able to keep their stocks.
Yeah. Woo!
Because they all
They
work
all
for
buy
GameStop.
Nvidia.
No, they work for it. You can't be a consumer for it. You have to be someone that produces the labor.
Yeah, okay.
So if yeah.
So this
Employees
graph
should own their
here,
companies.
this graph here shows where the GameStop app or GameStop stock hits a high at 363, and then Robinhood institutes a 2-share limit. And what you see immediately is the price of the stock dropping down. And what do the hedge fund managers want? The stock to drop down, because now they're in like a complete insolvency.
All right.
And we see over here, this is where the stock kind of was before, when hedge fund managers are still like able to make money off of this sort of thing. And we see an almost immediate return back to where the hedge fund managers can still profit off of this.
Right.
And you know, we have these accusations of collusion running around about like, okay, so you know, our Wall Street bets has colluded against this stock, and so that's actually illegal because collusion isn't allowed on the stock market in this way. What is a fucking hedge fund?
Right.
A hedge fund
what's
is
a
literally
corporation?
a collaborative effort between a bunch of moneyed interests to make a bet against a failing company and then profit off of that failing company.
Right.
The basic idea that a bunch of people on Reddit saw this happening and then, you know, spread the idea that, hey, we could probably profit off this if we invest in it. That is 100% how the stock market is supposed to work. That is
Right.
how the stock market actually works, and it's proven in the fact that it's given them returns on this bet. So the idea that this is somehow collusion is insane, given the fact that you have hedge funds, which are already like a conglomerated movement of moneyed interests, and then you have, you know, the apparatus of the media, which, you know, there's plenty of investing shows on, you know, various networks that'll say, hey, now's a good time to buy such and such stock. Like, how is that any different than putting out a post on a Reddit or a subreddit and saying, hey, we should buy this stock, it'll help us?
Yeah.
There's no difference between those things. It's collusion either way. You can't argue that like some guy on national news media is able to say you should buy this stock and then have people profit from that, while saying that some person on Reddit can't make a post saying, hey, we should buy this stock and you can profit off it.
Right. Yeah. The only difference being that one type of collusion ends up bolstering and funding people's 401ks and their pensions and everything, and one of them puts money into people's hands that need it right now, which is probably the way that this money should be moving in a lot of ways anyway.
Oh, shit, right?
Right. And honestly, the amount of people this last year that have lost their pensions or access, at least for now, to like their 401ks and things like that.
Yep.
You know.
That's actually in my own job. That's part of the budget consideration why I had to take such deep budget cuts, is because parts of our pension are funded through stocks, and you know, certain stocks went down, and you know, we had to adjust for that, and so, you know, yeah, it's it's bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit.
It's a nightmare.
So, you know, the other thing I'd like to talk about is the call for regulation. Now that's all of a sudden propping up.
Shocking. It's insane.
And how harmful that regulation actually is.
Right.
And you know, we have the fakest progressive to ever call themselves a progressive, Elizabeth Warren.
Oh yeah, the credit card lady. I mean the person who wanted to, you know, do something good with credit cards for a while there. But yeah, go on. Yeah.
So she's calling for regulation on this whole thing. Her last tweet, or her last tweet on the subject, I guess. Casino-like swings in stock prices of GameStop reflect wild levels of speculation that don't help GameStop's workers or customers and could lead to market instability. Today, I told the SEC to explain what exactly it's doing to prevent market manipulation. All right. So, on a surface level, this seems like a good thing, right?
Yeah, and
the market needs regulation.
Yeah,
of course it does. It's needed regulation for decades upon decades, and to now take the position that while people who are of, you know, less economic means are taking advantage of this system and essentially depriving all these hedge fund managers of the gains that they are used to getting, to take the position that now we need to regulate this is doing the work for the hedge fund managers for them, essentially, because they've already profited from this situation. And now what regulation would do is stop the reverse of that, stop the ability for, you know, concentrated efforts of poor people to take that money back. And you know, we're talking about people who were profoundly affected by the economic crash of 2008. We're talking about people who's, you know, like, mostly, you know, if you're a millennial in this age, you know, your parents might have lost their house, or you were just like now coming into adulthood, and you now learned that you had like no economic way to purchase a home and make a living in your life. I've talked before about how in 2008, because I was working in the housing industry, I had to join the Marine Corps because I was completely out of a fucking job.
Right.
So what you're doing is you're saying, oh yeah, now we realize it's a casino, so let's shut this down. Well, no, let the fucking rich people be in fear of the casino they've created. Let the poor people organize to keep taking money away from these people, unless you are also going to call for wealth redistribution. Don't regulate this fucking market.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely mixed on that, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess my end statement is just to return back to what I was saying before, which is that I think that we need to regulate it to such a point that only those producing labor for said companies are able to own stock, and then maybe some sliver of that can be dedicated to entering into something like an index fund, so people can actually use that for their pensions and things of the sort. So yeah, I mean, I think that responding to something like this with sudden regulation shows their hand quite a lot, and it's also ignoring the way that a lack of regulation has allowed in points like, you know, 1989 and 2000 for these giant peaks in the stock market that almost invariably lead to massive collapses and downturns afterwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, it's a casino-like system, and I don't think the answer is ultimately to, deregulate or not to regulate, but it is telling that this is happening now,
No, and
and
I'm
I
not
think that
saying.
any kind of push to regulate should be followed up by an ongoing, continual, and fervent rush to regulate as much as possible going forward and forever, rather
Yes.
than just, okay, we should do it right now, and
Yeah.
then we'll forget about it.
Yeah, and
Right.
what you're talking about is, the people who have like a labor investment into this is you're talking about the difference between shareholders, which is what an investor is, stakeholders, which is what a laborer is. Somebody who has a invested stake in whether or not this company lives or dies.
Right.
And we agree completely on that point where, yeah, the stock should be limited to the stakeholder, and in
Right.
very like offhanded sort of ways should be extended to the shareholder in investment terms. But the stakeholder lives in like this is not a bad thing for GameStop employees that their stock is blown up. This isn't.
No.
There's
In
no
fact,
way that this negatively impacts any GameStop employee.
right. There's a chance if GameStop, I hear GameStop is horrible to work for, but a lot of
We're
companies
not
do
talking
allow
about the
for,
GameStop is a shitty
right.
company, of course.
But I do know that a lot of companies, I've worked for some of them in the past, that even if they don't have like 401ks or anything like that, they do allow for like stock buy-ins or subsidized stock
Right.
buy-ins or something like that. So, I mean, people that work for GameStop very well might have, discounted stock that they've purchased that they're actually gaining something off of, rather
Hmm.
than a hedge fund pushing down the value of everything they've gotten for their work.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, no, the stakeholder versus shareholder uh, dynamic is something that needs to be discussed here. But that's not what Elizabeth Warren is talking about. What she's talking about is regulating the stock market so that something like this can't happen again. Sort of, she's posing it in a different way than like, yeah, I'm fighting for rich people. But essentially, what she's doing is she's fighting for rich people.
Yeah.
She's saying,
Yeah,
hey,
ultimately.
well, listen up here, guys. Turns out that even the poorest can can manipulate this system, and so what we need to do is we need to buckle down, and we need to get together, and we need to find a way to stop this from ever happening again.
Right. Right. And if if whatever regulation she tries to push through ultimately ends up causing things like, hedge funds with their downward pressure and everything to stop existing as part of the result, I guess cool and
Yeah,
good,
cool. But
because
when
market manipulations generally shouldn't happen, but this one happens to be a good one.
yeah, no, this and again, we gotta touch on the fact that, yeah, you can call this a market manipulation, but this is no different than what a hedge fund is.
No,
Because a hedge fund is a bunch of moneyed interests coming together. What did you see on your phone that made you so?
I just got an email. I can't. It's gibberish. It's from one of my students, and I
Oh,
don't understand. Sorry.
well, acid is a
Anyway,
hell of a drug, so.
yeah.
And it's not like we've ever talked to anybody out of taking acid.
No.
You have to assume some responsibility for whatever your students are doing that are making you see weird emails from them.
We need we need workshop manipulation to stop. Yeah.
You should probably just get rid of me out of the workshops.
Yeah, the exogenous Michael Deebs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of talking about market manipulation, um, Nancy Pelosi, our favorite
Oh right.
politician.
This fuck. Oh Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry. I'm just spazzing.
um, so Nancy Pelosi is probably on the inside track of what's happening in the Biden
Inside
administration.
track.
Yeah.
Because you're about to. Okay. Go on.
This is from Yahoo Money. What happened? It was revealed over the weekend that Speaker of the House and California Representative Nancy Pelosi purchased 25 call options of Tesla Inc. The purchases could have been done by Pelosi or her husband Paul, who runs a venture capital firm.
Okay.
Woo! The options were bought at a stake price of $500. 25 times 500. Go ahead and do the
Right.
math in your head. And an expiration of March 18, 2020. Pelosi paid between $500,000 and $100,000 for the options, according to the disclosure. Anyways, why it's important. The purchases by Pelosi are questionable, as arguments could be made that the companies stand to benefit from new President Joe Biden's agenda. Joe Biden's new agenda is that he's going to migrate the federal vehicle fleet into electric vehicles.
Right. The problem here being that she may have known about this before it was announced,
She may have had a little bit of insider information on
right.
this.
Which here's a really fun fact that I hope most of the listener knows, but maybe not all. But insider trading is illegal, but not if you happen to be a congressperson.
Which is
not
convenient.
Illegal. Very convenient.
And we saw this at the beginning of the COVID-19
yep. All those Zoom calls that you got, those are partially owned by your lovely congresspeople and senators.
Yeah, there was that, but there was also Dianne Feinstein, Kelly Loeffler, that horrible piece of shit that lost in Georgia. I'm blanking on the other names, but like Dianne Feinstein, Kelly Loeffler. What's that?
There were a few of them, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, there were a few of them that just happened to shift some stocks after a closed debrief about the COVID-19 pandemic and
do things like Zoom.
Yes, yeah,
right.
Moved away from certain stocks and moved into not only just Zoom stock, but but like medical stocks and stuff like that, like medical supplier stocks, which has obviously become highly profitable at this point.
For sure.
And not one of these fucking people that moved these stocks made the gesture to warn the American public that there was a horrible pandemic coming.
Well,
and
no, that's
I think it's not without mentioning that right now we're doing another remote session. You would normally come over today because I haven't been feeling tip top. My partner hasn't been feeling tip top either. We both had like taste loss, brain fog sort of stuff, some sensory issues, all of which are some kind of indicator signs that we may have COVID. So it's potential that I might have like a very mild case of COVID right now. I hope it stays that way. If it is that, but yeah, no. So we're all and you know these infection rates are fucking exploding right now, and Gavin Newsom decided in all of his fucking neoliberal wisdom to remove all the fucking stay-at-home orders and completely just open the state back up as we're like in the worst of it.
Leave it to personal responsibility. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be great.
What I need to correct you. Sorry to be such a pain in the ass today.
No, that's fine.
When you said that they didn't warn people when they did their insider trading, some of them did warn people because they had backroom briefings and meetings with
they warned money interest.
Yeah, so just keeping it fair that they did tell their loved ones
that I missed
about how to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, they warned people that they're in good with.
Right. Sorry, loved ones is a misnomer here. Probably I don't know if they have
Hey, they love money, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah. It's a clear case of there are certain people who are allowed to trade in these ways, and certain people who are allowed to make money off the stock market And once you break those traditional norms of who's allowed to benefit off of the stock market, then all of a sudden all these regulation calls come into play. And that's why, Elizabeth Warren, I I don't think I don't think she's a bad faith actor necessarily,
No, I think she's like, yeah,
but I think
Yeah.
the way that she acts is too naive for how much she knows about all this.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, a snake doesn't necessarily want to bite you, but sometimes your foot will scare it for a second.
Right. Yeah. The Elizabeth Warren snake emoji stuff.
But yeah, I mean, that's one of the I mean, this is such a trope at this point in time, that Americans are stupid and uneducated and stuff, but that is one of the convenient things that comes from people keeping people naive and stupid and uneducated is who wants to figure this shit out? Plus, naivety is really easy to kind of work
and
with.
that's something
We gotta
I was
regulate
thinking,
this.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking about the other day is economics are actually very simple in a lot of ways. There's like clear causes and effects, like
Right.
when more people have more money, then more buying happens and the economy is benefited
Right.
from that. The way that, people try to say that, oh, the economy is actually very complicated is through all these process measures, which
Yeah.
aren't necessarily how an economy works, but how the economy is executed. And
Yeah.
it's not,
Right.
yeah.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, like, so political economy is really simple because it's the only genuine representation of economy is right. So when we're looking at like Marx and some of his predecessors, some of which he corrects, some of which and then people follow him and correct some of his work, but like political economy makes sense because it's talking about where value actually comes from and what it does, and most of it happens to be stuff like what you just said. But when you do have these bizarro manipulated markets, or you have a market that gets so out of hand as to like put all of its value up into like the trite 1%, right?
Mhm.
That's where you start to see really weird paradoxical effects happen in an economy, which is why like economics is witchcraft, right?
Yeah, of course.
Economics is witchcraft. Political economy makes sense because it's actually talking about something that happens. But so in economy, something that I always notice since like since forever, as long as I've been aware of anything like this, has been like most economic functions, they result in one thing or its opposite, and one of the places where you have the opposite, and this is a really easy one to kind of think about, is the simple fact that yes, the rule that you say there, where you give people money and they spend it, that's absolutely true, until you have a market where you happen to have these deep wells of money.
Yep.
Where people have so much money they don't need to spend it, and it just sits
Well,
there
not
in,
even don't
in
need
this
to spend
massive
it, but
hole, right?
don't need to spend it, but like also don't have a reason to spend it, like
Right. And
you
so
can only
that's why
buy
trickle
so
down
many
doesn't
yachts,
fucking work.
right?
Right,
Like,
exactly. They can't spend it.
yeah,
Like there's so
exactly.
much there that even if they did, want to spend it all, but they don't have to, they don't need to, they can't. But once someone has a certain amount of money, it freezes up the rest of the economy.
Yep.
And also, in order to get more of that money, and the only way that you can get that much money is through the further immiseration, making sure that no one else can have it.
To put it into terms that the listener might be able to understand, is
dangerous.
you only need one diamond encrusted dildo, right?
You only need, well, I don't know.
No, you only need one.
I could use two.
Okay. You only need 2 diamond encrusted dildos, and once you exceed the amount of money that it takes to buy 2 diamond encrusted dildos, you're not going to buy any more diamond encrusted dildos. You're going to just let that money sit and accumulate in your bank account because you don't have anything else to do with it. You've got all the diamond encrusted dildos.
Some people could use 3.
Some people could use 3. I mean, there's 3 holes in the human body depending on who you are.
Yeah. I mean, how big are they? Like diamond encrusted sounding rods. Can I have a couple of those?
DP with diamond encrusted dildos in every hole.
That's what I'm talking about.
I
It's a
need
very
6
complicated
diamond
machine you
encrusted
get
dildos
hooked up
so
into.
so I can put 2 in each hole.
That would hurt so much.
One of the
diamond
holes
encrusted.
is my urethra, by the way.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Anyway,
so
we have
that's
more.
no, I was actually gonna say that's kind of all I had for tonight.
Okay, that's fair.
I think we had a productive talk, regardless of
Yeah,
this being kind of a
did good.
shorter episode.
Yeah.
Again, this is all kind of stuff that we've talked about before, and it's unfortunately being proven true. I don't take any joy in being right about all this kind of stuff.
We're a hyperstitious podcast. We make this stuff
we are a
happen.
hyperstitious
We're sorry.
podcast.
We're
All of our
sorry.
talk about this has made this all happen in the stock market. No, I don't like that this is happening right now. You know,
Right.
and there's a lot of wagon circling going around.
Like some of it.
Yeah, no, I like the revolt against money, for sure. But I don't like that all of our other theories about how capital will defend itself are coming true as well.
Right.
So, yeah, we love you. Please take your medicine.
Oh, one quick thing, and I know we're not going to get a whole lot of people off of this because of how upload schedules and stuff work. But I know this is being uploaded tonight, and I know a lot of you guy, but gender neutral guy.
You listener.
Listen, a lot of you listen to this as soon as it comes out. And if any of y'all aren't aware of it, I do have an open workshop and seminar tomorrow morning. So January 30th at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. PST. And we're talking about grief. There's all the details you will possibly need for it in the bio on my Instagram page at DankDeluze. So I'm sorry that makes you have to click at least 3 times. But I believe in you, you can do it. But that's totally, without a charge or anything. We're just going to talk. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk about sad stuff. And I'd love to see you there.
All right. Yep. And I'll be there as well. So, to all the listener, please take your medicine. We love you, etc. And good night.
Bye.
Bye. Hi. Michael Deebs here, with no gun pointed at my head. Please know that all content created for the Benzo Rehab Dungeon is and always will be freely available. However, if you would like to support this creation of content, we here at Camp Benzo would appreciate it, as the production itself is not free of cost. Anything donated will go to covering the various subscription fees maintained for content production or improving and expanding the content produced. If you are able to, please head on over to patreon.com/Benzo Rehab Dungeon. We also have shirts for sale on Teespring, all priced as low as we can get them without turning much or any profit. They are mostly so that you can show your loved ones that a necessary intervention may be on the horizon. Links to the merchandise storefront and our various social media profiles can be found on our link tree, which is the word linktr.ee/Benzo Rehab Dungeon. As always, we love you. Please take your medicine.